Hi, this is Tom from the APBA blog. A couple weeks ago I posted a video on YouTube that was pretty much a tour of how I keep stats for my 1966 National League replay. I did it just to show you how I keep stats. It was basically just a tour. I got some good feedback and some really good questions from a lot of you, and I thought what would be good to do is to basically just to start from scratch, just get an idea of how, how to start, creating a system with Microsoft Excel. For those of you who have been asking, how do I, create a system like this? So that's what I'm going to do. This is what, at least my final product will look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to create just a blank workbook. So, this is just one worksheet here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a one player's worksheet. I'm going to put some, basically some categories, some stat categories that you want to keep stats of. Now this will be up to you what you'll want to keep stats of. Definitely, keep, do a good inventory of what you feel you want to keep stats of. I'm just gonna write a few down. Hit my pitch. Let's do. You know what I'm gonna do? Let's do this. And let's do double plays. And of course averages too. Let's do slugging and on base. I will say that, and I know Rod Coburn on his column, he all stresses this too, is that before you do a replay, think about what you want to keep track of. It's easier to do to keep track of of a stat while you're doing the replay, rather than I wish I had done kept track of double plays, and then having to go back and looking through your game sheets, your score sheets, and then tracking them. You'd rather do more than less. It's just easier then. So it's just easier to do that. I'm gonna put a field here for totals, and I think I'm going to format. I'm going to select this row right here and then make it bold, just to make it look a little nicer, and maybe align it to the left here. Now what this row right here, I'm going to make this bold too. This row here will consist of the total season total stats for this particular player. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give this player a name. We'll make him Hank Aaron. What the heck. And what you can do, this is sufficient, but you want to be able to see who this is, and this is a little tiny. You can actually merge and center this so it looks more visible when you come to this page. You can also make it bigger there, like that. So this cell right here is going to be the total of all these cells here. Let's go back up again. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be the sum. So I'll press the equals key and click on sum. You can actually type it too. And it'll be the sum of this cell right here, the B4. And again, you can type it, but I'm going to click it and boom, it's there. You can actually do this as well. You can see that it's populating that cell. And actually, you can, I might just do this. It's almost easier. And since I'm playing, let's say we're playing 162 games, we'll do that. And so it'll be 165. And that's all I need to do. Now, I don't have to do this for each one of these cells. I just need to highlight this little, see that dot right there? And then my cursor turns into a plus sign, and then click and drag all the way over here. And everything populates the cells. And I'll just highlight this cell right here, and you can see equals sum C4 colon C165. That it's the same for every other one. And of course we want to do averages. That's not going to be a sum, that'll be of course an average. Averages is of course hits divided by at-bat. So I'll just click on that, E3, and divide, of course it is the slash. I'll just click on the at-bats, and then that's all I need to do. Right now there's no at-bats, so it's going to be divided by 0, and we'll get the same thing for slugging too. Slugging will be equals, of course, total bases divided by at-bats, so we'll have to use a parentheses. The hits plus doubles plus, and we'll have to use another parentheses, 2 times triples, and another parentheses, 3 times home runs, and then another parentheses divided by at-bats. And that should do it for slugging. On base is going to be again equals, and it will be hits plus walks plus hit by pitch, and then that's divided by, oh, I forgot my parentheses here, at-bats plus walks plus hit by pitch. I will say that if you're keeping track of sacrifice hits, like sacrifice flies and bunts and things like that, you can add that onto here, onto the second part of the formula, because that does officially, as far as Major League Baseball, it does take part in the on-base percentage formula. I'm not going to for this demonstration. And that's it for on-base percentage. So that's it. So we can see how this takes place. Before we do that though, I'm going to format this column here. I'm going to highlight this whole column here and format it so that it will show a date instead of a number. And I'll just highlight date. I'm going to have it show this date here. So when I type in a date, it'll show up as a date. So if I type in, for example, let's do April 5th, 4-5. It shows up at 5 April. So say you play your first game of the season, and Hank Aaron went, let's say, 2 for 4 with a double. So he had 4 at-bats, and 2, 4, and he had a double. Now you notice that the slugging and average and the on base aren't, it's correct, but it doesn't quite show in the format that we're used to. So I would highlight that and right click and format cells. Now it's a number, and we want 3 decimal places, so it'll look like that. Now that will be fine. However, and I'll credit Mike Bunch, my commissioner, for showing me this. You can click on custom and click here and then remove the leading 0, and it will look the way we're used to showing it. So that it'll look like this, and it'll look a lot more what we're used to seeing our averages. So let's say you play a second game of the season, so it will be April 6th, 4-6, and I think if you put 4/6, it'll do the same thing. Yep, it does. One game, and let's say he went 0 for 3, and he had a strikeout, and you notice that the averages do change. He had a strikeout, and you can see that everything totals up correctly. And I'm just going to press home here, and that goes back to the front. Now, I don't have to create this whole sheet over again. That's kind of the beauty of Microsoft Excel. I can just copy the sheet. I can right click on here, move or copy, and create a copy. I'm just going to move it to the end. And here's a duplicate copy of this sheet. Now, just to make things easier to find, I'm going to double click on this here, and I'll just call this Aaron, and I will go here. Let's just call this Tori, and yeah, Tori, and then Joe. And I'm going to highlight these 2 rows here and right click and clear contents. And you notice that everything just, the totals field all blank out. So let's just go ahead and put in some numbers for games you might have played. 4, 5. Just some numbers I'm making up here. Let's say he went 2 for 5 with maybe a walk, and that's in the next game. He went 1 for 3 with a run. And you notice everything just all adds up. There, his averages, I think, is correct. Yeah, I thought it looks correct to me. And again, you can make a copy of this, and it all shows up correctly. Now, the same thing can go for pitching. I'm gonna make a new sheet. I just clicked on the plus button. So again, I'm going to emphasize, make sure that if you determine what stats you want to keep keep track of. I can't emphasize that enough. If you want to keep track of pitching home runs, giving up, put that down. If you don't, that's fine. Just make sure you determine that before you start your replay, or before you keep tracking of those stats. And so earned runs, walks, wins, losses, saves. The concept is pretty much the same. ERA is pretty much the same. Put totals here. And I'm going to bold these. And let's go ahead and we'll make this Challenger. I like to make the last name first because in case you want to, down the road, you want to sort by name, it makes more sense to sort by last name. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll highlight all these and then merge and center. And let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. So it's the same concept, just equals and sum. And since I know it's a B165, I can actually just type it in. B and colon indicates a range. So B165, and then you can see that it's all typed in here. I can just go ahead and continue and make sure that it indeed does copy over. ERA is relatively simple. Just type the equal sign in. It's 9 divided by innings pitched, and then times earned runs, and that's H3. And let me just right justify that, and it seems to look good. Let's try it out. Actually, I forgot to do the date. Right click, format cells, date, and let's do the same format for date. So let's say that Tony Challenger started the first game of the season. So 1 game, 1 start. He did not have a complete game. Let's say he went 6 innings and gave up 2. Well, no, he wouldn't have given up 2 hits. Let's say he gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. He's got a W for me, so he's gonna give up 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, and let's give him the loss. Now you'll notice that ERA shows up as 3 instead of 3.0. Again, like the averages, we can right click and format cells. It's a number. We see it as 2 decimal places, so and that's the default. So we'll just accept the default, and there we go. We can go ahead and let's say he started again. Maybe on the 9th, and he went 7 innings and gave up 8 hits, and maybe had a rougher outing this time. 4 runs, all earned, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, and a loss again. And you notice the ERA did update. And again, same concept. We can give him his name down here, and we can also, for example, his reliever, we could give his reliever his own page for and then clear out the stats here. And Negro, whoever, and it's the same concept. That's sort of the beauty of how I keep the stats. Once you create a page, you can make a copy of that and then use that template in order to do the stats. Once you get the page the way you want it, you don't have to recreate it. Once you have the whole team page set up the way you want it, you make the copy of that whole file, and then you can use that for another team. And once the whole Braze file is set up, you don't have to. You just need to enter in the stats. You don't have to create create a player sheet like I am. It's all there. I find I'm on May 25th of my 1966 replay. Occasionally, I'll find a new player that hasn't started yet because of a trade or because they're a very limited player. It's not too difficult to just do what I just did here by right-clicking and move or copy and just create a new template and blank out the stats, and it's all there for me. And I find it a real easy way to keep stats. Going back to here, it gets me similar to what I have here. You'll notice here with, for example, what my system with what I'm using with the 1966 replay, I have the top 3 rows are staying where they are because I have so many rows here. I want to be able to see who it is, and also the top two rows, because I want to see how Ron Santo's doing, and the category headers. That's done by, I can actually do it on the sheet here. If you just right click here and go to view and split, it will do that. I can scroll as long as I want. These top 3 rows will not move. It just makes it easier to see how who it is without having to look down here at the tabs. So I'm gonna stop here for this video. I think the next video will include collating these stats into a format where you can actually use them. Collate the standings, putting a team stats format so you can see how each team how the team stats look, and eventually I'd like to we'll get to leaderboards using pivot tables. Again, feedback is welcome. I just wanted to, instead of getting right to the real complicated stuff, I want to start from the beginning. I will save this file, and if if it's helpful for anyone, I will, you can download it. It's, again, it's not terribly complicated. Eventually we'll be getting into more complicated, links, pasted links, more pivot tables, that kind of thing. But this is something that we can start and then learn more. So that's it for now. Probably next weekend I'll probably get into that kind of thing. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's useful. I will be talking to you later.